Hello, everyone. Oh. How's everyone's Friday? Just gonna wait for a few more people to come in. What up? This. Alright. Guess that's enough people. Alright, let's jump into the project for Colors featuring my good friend Olin. So yeah, I guess I'll play a little bit of the song first. Since the radio edit is the version that's been released, I'll play that. We'll be going through that arrangement. As you can see, I got everything. This is the album version, and this is the extended mix and the radio mix. So I have it all in the same project. And I learned that trick from watching a Dada Life video, actually. I was like, why do I separate all the projects out when I could just do it in one? Really smart. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and play some of it. Alright, I'll stop it there. So, yeah, if you want to listen to the full track, it's out now on all streaming platforms, YouTube, all of that. So, yeah, I guess I'll start with the intro. Yeah, I think I'll do this chronologically. So the way the whole track starts, I use a lot of dropped-in audio into for my tracks, especially with like effect sounds and pads and stuff like that. I'll very rarely open up a synth to do like some effects, but it depends. So yeah, it all starts with this little which is just yeah, a little clip of the album version, which I'm not going to play because, yeah, it's just an effect from the album version, just chopped off at the beginning. The album version has this really long, elaborate intro, so for the radio edit I had to chop it off a bit. And then, yeah, there's some weird grouping going on this project. I was looking around it, and yeah, it was like all over the place in terms of what groups are where and stuff. So like, there's like drums in the group with all the like synths and stuff. So it's a little bit all over the place. So I guess I'll play this whole group. And the reason there's some weird grouping going on is because I wanted to like filter things together, add like flanger to everything, and like, yeah, treat it as like one sample. So yeah, I had to do some weird grouping. Instead of, usually what I would do is I would do a whole other project, and then bounce it out, basically, arrange everything beforehand. But here I just decided to do it all in one project, so yeah. So yeah, the drums in here, just some samples. You can hear them better later when the filter opens up. And you'll see the drums are all in one group, so I could process them all together. I've got a little bit of phaser going on. I mean, quite a lot of phaser. Yeah, this multipass is just compressing the high frequencies. But yeah, together, when I process all the drums together, it just helps it create that sample-like feeling. Yeah, just a simple little chord pattern with phase plant. A lot of the synths in this are really simple, hardly any like complicated sound design. Most of it comes like through group processing and stuff. So it's just a simple detuned super saw kind of thing. So, what's this? Oh yeah, a bit of chopped up audio. If I take off the reverb, where's the reverb coming from? Yeah, I guess I wanted a really big reverb on that. And yeah, this is multipass. You'll see it a lot in my videos. It's by Kilohertz. I use it all the time. It's a really good way to change the character of a sound really easily. You've got your pre-band and your post-band. I should say chain, pre-chain and post-chain, and then you have your different bands here. So you can do a lot to the sound, you know, adding various little modules here. So I use comb filtering a lot just to add movement. Here's a pretty extreme example of that. And yeah, I always add not always, but I like to add compression, less so, or at least with like less extreme settings in the lower frequencies and more extreme settings in the higher frequencies, depending. And I took a little bit of transient out as well because it was a little bit clicky. And then underneath that there's a drone, which just has a bit of EQ on it just to take out the low end. And then the guitars. So I've got two layers of guitars, which I recorded for another track actually, and then I dragged it in, and yeah, it worked really well. So this is what that sounds like on its own. Most of the processing comes from this multipass, so I'll play it without in a second and you'll hear the difference. Where does it? Where'd it go? Here. Yeah, so again, lots of flanging, some reverb on the individual channel, more comb filtering, and yeah, compression. Without it, it sounds like this. So yeah, it really changes the character a lot, adds lots of movement, and yeah, completely transforms it. Yeah, I think the acoustic guitars are what really make this track. Let me have a look through the chat, see if I missed anything. Yeah, Star guitar vibes, definitely. I was going for that. A lot of people make the Daft Punk connection, but I was really inspired by Star guitar when I was making this. So it's it's kind of hard for me to not make something Daft Punk inspired, actually, because they were such a huge influence on me growing up. So yeah, what else? I guess let's move on to the vocals by my good friend Olin, who's in the chat. What up, Lou? So yeah, basically this whole project came from a song that we wrote about, what was it, 2 years ago? And yeah, the vocals were in this different arrangement. Like, if I drag it out, you'll be able to hear what they sound like. Let me just copy this, play the original vocal. Yeah.
You say that you're just passing through, that you've got everything you need. Now, baby, I'll share what's on my mind with you. You open up your heart to me now. If everything you say is true, then we've got everything we need. Now, baby, I'll share what's on my mind with you. You open up your heart to me now. Sequences of color.
Yeah, so there was a lot more to the vocal, but I basically wanted to just take the meat of it and condense it down into a really cool riff. So I've got this call and response thing going on. Where is it? Here. Yeah, so I've got this call and response thing going on where I have one vocal that's more mono, and then another one that's more chorused in stereo, and that gives this kind of call and response feeling.
If everything you say is true, got everything we need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. You say that you're just passing through, got everything you need. I share what's on.
So yeah, you have the direct vocal right in front. Yeah, and you'll see me use comb filtering on a lot of stuff. That's just one way I like to create little bits of movement in elements just to make them not sound stagnant and electronic. Yeah, a bit of EQing, a little bit of echo. Not much besides that though, as you can see. Yeah, limiting the stereo width so it stays more mono. Without it, it's pretty wide already.
If everything you say is true, if everything you say is true, got everything we need. I share with.
Yeah, in this instance it's just the same except there's chorus and yeah. And also you'll see there's these. These are triggering the sidechain of the vocal because I wanted that to be really extreme. Because when I had some extreme settings on the vocal, on the sidechain of the vocal, it was creating this really nice pumping feeling. Even when there weren't like big drums behind it, I liked that feeling of you know, in the vocal. It was creating really nice like ear candy for me.
I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. You say that you're just passing through. Got everything you need. I share what's on my mind with you.
So yeah, there's a different group for the intro vocals and the vocals during like the drop, because I want to process them differently. And yeah, I should just put them close to each other. There. Yeah, this project's more unorganized than my projects usually are. It's all over the place. And then what's this? Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to have a riser, but like have it be a melodic riser, kind of like in like Daft Punk Digital Love. There's that lead that kind of brings you into the drop. So yeah, I like doing that a lot, where I'll have a lead instrument that takes the place of like a, and I think I have something like that as well in there, but yeah, I wanted the main energy of the build up to be carried with this melody.
You say that you're just passing through.
And I must have frozen that, so I could just cut off the audio. I can't remember what I used for that. It's a mystery.
You say that you're just passing through.
Ah, and there's another, oh, I guess it was Serum. So there's Serum doing the same thing. It's not doing the same thing, it's just sort of reinforcing that bass note, the root note of the whole chord sequence.
You say that you're just passing through. I share what's on my mind with you. Everything you say is true. Open up your heart to me.
Oh, you know what? I just realized. Yeah, that's just that lead sound reversed. So I just took this lead sound that comes in the drop, just put it down there, and then reversed it and time stretched it. Just to reinforce this. What else? Oh yeah, and here's a standard kind of effects riser that I made. And yeah, I have a macro routed to a bunch of things on this, so it, yeah, which creates that movement. Instead of just having it linked to the pitch, I have it, a few things modulating the pitch that gradually increase, and filter cutoff increases and stuff like that. Pretty simple stuff, with a reverb and yeah, high pass filter, so gradually going up within the pitch.
You say the charge is passing through. I share what's on my mind with you. Everything you say is true.
And a drone as well for extra extra atmosphere. And for those of you that watch my streams a lot, you'll know I do just long sound design sessions where I'll just have some MIDI automatic thing, or in this case, like I probably just had a Max for Live thing to hold down a note for me and play a bunch of patches, and I just recorded that. And then this is just some extra white noise for effect. Oh yeah, another important part of this whole track is this sound. Here, I forgot to add a little fade because it clicks a little bit. Here. Usually I would just add a little bit of a fade. Just what I should have done. But yeah, that's like a repeating element all the way throughout the track. And then let's go into the drop. I'll start with the drums. Excuse me. Well, someone's at my door. Hold on. All right. It's just a package. Oh yeah, so let's start with the drums. Starting with the kick. It's usually the most important part of any 4 to the floor track because it's the foundation of everything. And again, those of you that watch my streams a lot, you'll know I use like one instance for a transient, which is just this. And underneath that, I'll have a sub that comes in. You probably won't be able to hear that if you're on laptop speakers. And that's phase aligned, so the two kind of work together. And then on the kick group, there's this thing I made called a transient morpher, which is basically an instance of Saturn, and there's a envelope follower on the frequency of the band crossover. So depending on the decay of the envelope follower, you can create or mangle your transient in either a nice way or an unpleasant, out of phase way. But sometimes you can make it in, like I'll play without it and with, and you can hear the difference. That's without. Sometimes it just adds a little bit more impact to the drums, to the kick anyway. I'll show you what happens if I mess around with the decay and stuff. And the band crossover. And the attack. So, I think that's how it was. Yeah. And then just a little bit of EQ to take out some of the mids, because that always builds up in drums. And after the kick, we have a clap. Nothing too crazy here, just a few different layers. One there, one here. And they're all sort of spaced away from each other to A, so they don't clash, and B, to create the impression that there's many different claps happening. Yeah, so all together it sounds like that. And I've processed them all together as well, with probably way too extremely. So without all these, just a bit of EQing. M transformer I use a lot to like blur transients, and yeah, here I'm just like editing the FTT curve of the volume. Yeah, I use M transformer a lot, especially on this album. Yeah, and a bit of saturator at the end. I think that's just to soft clip it. Yeah. Even though it didn't really need clipping. Doesn't really do anything. But yeah, without the transformer on it, it's a lot sharper and digital sounding. This just allows me to sort of, to me, it creates the effect of resampling loads of times, and like, it's like if you're converting things to MP3 and then back to WAV and back to MP3 again, kind of effect. So yeah, I just I manually move the claps around. Sometimes I'll mess with the track delay, but most of the time I just want to be more accurate and actually see visually where it's hitting. I'll do that more like in individual sound design projects. So I'll play the whole drum group. So yeah, there's really not much going on with the drums. It's pretty basic, way more basic than I would usually do. But that's all this track really needed. Nothing more crazy than that, because the rest of the track is already full of other elements, so it doesn't really need to have a big percussive drum track. Yeah, I think it's only really 4 layers, which aren't clap and kick. So just a hi-hat. That gives more stereo width, and then some white noise through phase plant. Yeah, it's just completely mono. And I find that's a way better way to add air to hi-hats than trying to EQ air into a hi-hat. Just adding a bit of white noise. Sometimes I'll even add a little bit of ring modulation to give it more of a tone, or random low pass noise kind of ring modulation, so it's like crackly. Another hi-hat layer. Again, a little bit more stereo width. And then this, yeah, this is more mono. Vengeance sample. And then at the end of this first 8 bar, 16 bar, the drums change into like breaks before it goes back into 4/4. I did this after late in the process because I felt like it was just kind of boring, the same the whole way through. So I wanted something to break that up. So I add this break section. And yeah, this is a break I made in Superior Drummer. Chopped up a bit, and not much happening to it. Just a bit of EQing. For some reason when my breaks, I always end up mixing it way too bright when I'm bouncing it out, so I always find myself low passing stuff, and yeah. And then some drum rolls to lead back into the 4/4 break. Yeah, it's these two breaks combined. And yeah, both of these I made in Superior Drummer. Is there nothing on the clip? And yeah, this is probably a really long file, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll do a bunch of drum rolls and add different effects, random effects and stuff, so they have more movement and less stagnance to them. Yeah. And then back to the 4/4 part. Okay, so I guess going through to the next part, I always arrange my tracks when I'm mixing drums, then I'll have bass, and then like mids or synths and stuff in the middle, and then effects on the very bottom. That's usually the way I do things. So my bass sound is pretty basic here. Just an instance of phase plant doing the sub. And yeah, it's Reese. I always use Reese's for my subs now because you get a lot more for your money in terms of like just a plain sine wave won't fill out your low end as much as Reese will. And if you don't know what a Reese is, it's just two detuned oscillators, usually a saw wave, or in this case I added some phase feedback to two sine waves, and that creates like a low pass Reese sound when you detune those together. And yeah, some pretty extreme EQing. That's what it sounds like without that big dip in the middle. So yeah, not much happening to that. And then there's another instance for that little ghost note with yeah, less extreme phase feedback. Same EQing. And then the top layer for that is really simple. It's just contact. I think it's the Rickenbacker contact patch, if I remember correctly. Or it's the precision one. I can't remember. But yeah, this is just the top layer with the high pass to layer with the sub. This I guess is for automating in some reverb. Do I even do that? Oh, that's just for the extended mix. Okay, so yeah, just a bit of flanger. Again, I use flanger a lot. And I think, again, that's just for the end. So yeah, not much happening here except for this little micro shift, which is adding a little bit of stereo width. So yeah, I didn't need there to be too much going on in the bass sound because, again, the rest of the track was filling out the space so much, it didn't need anything. Yeah, that's the whole bass track, and yeah, it doesn't change much sonically throughout the track. And then we have that saw wave lead pad. Just the same as this one, copied over and processed a bit different. Yeah, another thing I'll do is I'll have a patch that's less bright and a little bit more subdued for the intro and breakdown, and then another patch that's doing the drop. Just simple saw wave, little bit of reverb, compression. Yeah, not much crazy stuff going on. Mid-side compression, just pushing the mids a little bit more than the side, so it doesn't feel too wide. And what else? Oh yeah, the M dynamics. This plugin is really cool because you can change the crossover band type, and I have it here set to spectrum, which it separates it into partials instead of just frequency bands. So it bases it on how loud the partials are. So the loudest partials are on the right and the quietest ones are on the left. And usually the quietest partials are the higher harmonics and the lower partials are like the fundamental. So the louder partials are the fundamental. So what this can do is it dynamically changes where your compression is happening based on where your note is. So if your fundamental's down here and then it moves up here, it's gonna compress. It's not gonna with a normal multiband dynamics or multiband compressor, the crossover points are fixed. So let's say you have a bass note that starts here and then moves up. You're gonna have a different level of compression for that second bass note. Whereas with this, when the bass note moves, that is still the fundamental, so it crosses over at a higher point, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's really, really useful for if you want to compress multiband compression without having weird crossover points where you have one bass sound different to another, or one chord sound different. And I use that a lot as well. So yeah. So it creates a cleaner multiband compression in my ears, because when you change notes, it doesn't change the quality of it. So that's nice and compressed. And yeah, it's a good way to do an OTT effect without being too OTT. And yeah, here we have that chopped up sample. Let's see if I can... It's probably a sample from vinyl. Let's see what this is. Yeah, it's a vinyl sample for sure. Let's see if the DMCA algorithm got that before I stopped playing it. So yeah, it's just that chopped up, layered on top. And yeah, I wanted that long reverb on it so it would fill out the top end. Because remember, the drums were like really simple, butch, butch, butch. And I needed something to fill it up without like adding tons of shakers and stuff. So yeah, a lot of the high end is kind of taken care of by the synths in this. What's this? Another instance of the chords. It's, yeah, for some reason I left it in there, like, super filtered out. What the hell? It's like super filtered. Yeah, some elements I don't even remember putting in. Am I getting confused? Probably getting confused. No, I'm not getting confused. Yeah, so guitar comes back in. Yeah, you don't hear it as much in the first drop. It's more filtered out. Yeah, again, sort of drone build up. Yeah, so at the end of that phrase, I layered an extra level of brightness to the vocal, just some high pass and loads of feedback on the delay, so it echoes out into the next section. And yeah, some other effects. A little drum break with Superior Drummer. Yeah. Yeah. Forgot to mention, this sound was made with my MS-20 and loads of pedals and stuff. So this was like the first album that I really started using my hardware to make sounds and effects. And yeah, before I had just had an MS-20 and the MS-2000 was my roommate, so it was just sitting around kind of sad. So I decided to start using them more. So loads of these effects are from my MS-20 and MS-2000 and loads of guitar pedals. And then there's this little plucky thing that comes in. Yeah, super classic, like prog trance kind of sound. That's kind of when I came into making music around like 2004. This kind of sound was the shit. Like just a little belly FM synth with loads of delay and usually some bit crushing and comb filtering going on. And yeah, I really, really love that kind of sound. So I've been trying to do that more. So most of the interest of that whole melody comes from the delay, like feeding back on certain notes and creating interesting harmonies. If I play the patch without all the effects, you'll hear it's pretty simple. And usually I'll have utilities to automate volume and stuff. So yeah, it's like a pretty nonsensical melody, but when you have all the effects and stuff on it. And it then becomes more of a texture than an actual lead sound, which is what I like. I like things that are bordering on pads and lead sounds. And then to reinforce that in the background, I just have a little loop. To just sort of enhance the ear candy aspect of it. So together they sound like this. Yeah, I just recorded that with my MS-2000. Now the lead sound. Touched on it a little bit, but yeah, because the lead sound, there's going to be more shit on it, because I want it to stand out a bit more. So it was originally a serum patch, and the melody was actually carried by like an LFO. And I did a little bit of extra melody editing in the clip transposition, sorry. So yeah, I do a little bit of, I always bounce things down really early, because, actually not always, not so much anymore. I started this track on my old computer, so I was bouncing things down a lot more. Nowadays, I would probably leave it as a synth. But yeah, I don't think the patch was too complicated. It was just some, again, comb filters and like, yeah, pitch LFO, and yeah, it wasn't that complicated. So, got a little bit of parallel processing here. It's going into this guitar rig. And yeah, then the dry layer is layered on top of that to give you this. So yeah, it just adds a little bit of grit underneath, but it still remains clear, and yeah, it doesn't get too muddy. Yeah, going into a little bit of delay with ping pong, really short delay, like slap back almost. Yeah. A little slap back delay, some filters so I can automate the filter. I like automating filters more than I like automating volume. You'll see that a lot. Like, I don't automate. Yeah, I only automate like balance, because you can change the way how loud something sounds with filters and width of the stereo field a lot better than just turning something up and down in the mix. Sometimes I don't like to automate volume, especially at the end of a clip, at the end of a channel, because that's kind of unrealistic in an actual setting where like you won't have musicians moving around the stage, getting closer and further away from you as as the track goes on. Like, it'll feel louder, it'll sound louder, but the actual like sonic character of where it is still in one place. But with electronic music, obviously you can play around with that a lot more. So but I don't like to do it too much where it becomes so unnatural that you don't really believe what's happening. That you don't believe that it's sounding human and real. So yeah. And then yeah, a bit of tube saturation again to make it a little bit more gritty and in your face. I love this tube saturator by Wave Arts because it sounds really natural and doesn't sound too digital. Yeah, more comb filters. I love comb filtering. And yeah, if you don't know what a comb filter is, it's basically like EQ with points all along the harmonic series that, yeah, when you move it, it creates like a flanging effect. Effects. And then in the breakdown, this pad comes in. Yeah, I think I covered everything in the drop pretty much. Yeah, super simple pad. Again, it's just detune saw wave. Doesn't need to be too complicated because, yeah, I wanted this whole part to feel super simple, and then it sort of opens up into something more complex. Plus you have this like crazy drone on top of it, which is supplying a lot of the movement and texture. So yeah, this is just a session of MS-20 I did, where the transposition pitches down at the end. Just going into echo, pretty simple, nothing too complicated there. You'll see when I'm mixing, like, I don't like adding too many effects to everything. I prefer to get the movement and stuff out of the way when I'm recording the sounds, and the non-linearities. I'll get them in the recording rather than trying to edit them into the final track. It's way easier and cleaner that way for me psychologically. I don't know. Yeah, so there's this section where it's just the vocals and the pad, which I really like from... I guess it's that Daft Punk thing again, where, you know, one more time, I always have that breakdown that's just like really simple, like low pass chords and a vocal. I love that kind of thing.
You see that you're just passing through, that you've got everything you need, if everything you say is true. You open up your heart to me. You see that you're just passing through, that you've got everything you need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. If everything you say is true, we've got everything we need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. You see that you're just passing through, that you've got it.
And then really what makes this breakdown work rather than being a cheesy like pop song is this sound, I think, like this kind of wailing sound that comes in, and it gives it a real feeling of like an actual emotional song rather than just cheesy pop fodder. I don't know, it's just like crying out, I guess. And because it's like so far panned to the left, you hear it and you notice it, it's definitely there, but it's less invasive over the vocal. If it was panned in the middle, it sort of takes up a bit too much space. So
You say that you're just passing through, that you've got everything you need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. If everything you say is true, we've got everything we need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. You say that you're just passing through, that you've got everything you need. I share what's on my mind with you. Open up your heart to me. If everything you say is true, we've got everything we need. I share what's on my mind with you.
yeah, and this whole group has also a high pass filter that I mix in. Oh, that's the reverb. Yeah, so I'll automate reverb in to like build ups and stuff. Yeah, high pass, taking out all the low end, building up into the second drop, just so it has that rush of energy into the drop with the low end. Yeah, and then the drop is just like the first one sonically, really, except the guitars are way more prominent. So yeah, just that same contact patch chopped up, and I wonder, did I pitch it in the... Yeah, so I chopped it up and made it so it's in pitch with the sub. I wonder what it sounds like. I don't know. So yeah, the guitars come in and they really fill out the harmonics of it. So yeah, I do something weird here. I like pan them hard right and hard left, and then process them together, and then and then limit their width. So yeah, without the guitars, the whole track sounds really empty. Yeah, it adds both a lot of texture and harmonics, which I like. And then there's this. Yo, I'm streaming. Yeah, so then I have this little pad thing that, yeah, is very rhythmic. Yeah, and that's carrying a lot of the rhythmic and like harmonics as well. Harmonic information. Some delay, EQing, taking out the low end. Yep, just calming the mids a bit with some multiband dynamics, and then this M transformer, which is doing a lot. I'll play it without it. So I'm using this to kind of brighten it by playing with the FTT curve of the phase. Yeah. I don't like boosting high end a lot. I like to get the air in other means. Or yeah, I don't like doing it with an EQ basically. Yeah, and then this little plucky lead comes back in, probably with a slightly different melody. Yeah, the only difference being this root note changes here because the chord. The only difference is it's dropped by 1. Otherwise, it's the exact same. And yeah, again, the lead sound. So instead of, because I had already bounced the patch and I wanted to edit the melody, I didn't want to have the exact same one. I just edited it in the clip. So instead of just one repeating 4-bar or 2-bar phrase, just started the second phrase a little bit lower to create a little bit of difference between the first and second drop. Yeah. And that's I mean, that's why I like bouncing stuff out, is because you get weird sounds that way when you pitch, when you transpose the pitch of the actual audio versus when you just change the MIDI. You're changing the sonic character of the sound as well, so it's another little detail that you can add to your sonic quality, especially for a lead instrument where you want it to stand out. I like doing stuff like that where you're manipulating the actual sonics of the sound rather than just changing the pitch. I think that's pretty much it for this project. Yeah, not much else. I think some shakers come in eventually here. Kind of. There's so much high end in like the synths and the vocals. It's such a bright tune that there's really not that much brightness in the drums. It's pretty dull. Yeah, a lot of the rhythmic stuff is carried by elements in the musical stuff rather than the drums. Like if I mute the drums. What? Oh, that's not the drums. This. Yep. What else? Yeah, I think that's really it. Okay. I guess I could go through what this is. Some break from Eddie Grant. Electric Avenue. Is that what it is? Yes. Avenue. We're gonna walk down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Yeah, I would probably comment with that reverb if I redid this. Yeah, that's way more reasonable. That reverb was way too long. Anyway. Are there any other questions? Have I done a breakdown of Petrushka yet? No, I have not. But Petrushka's not out technically. The only version of it is in a compilation, so I'll do that after the album's out. Does the bass change second drop? Not the actual patch. It's pretty much the same as the first drop. But the melody changes. Yeah, from a more like funky boom 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 to a more like do 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 kind of rock, kind of eighth note type bass line. How long did this track take me to make? Let's see. Olin, are you still in here? How long? When did I start in this? When did we make the original? Because I guess we can count that as. Maybe she left. Olin, come back. I need your memory. Okay. Yo. Yeah, when did we start on this? But yeah. No, this is a contact patch laid on. I mean, I could have recorded it, but it would have just taken me longer to get something similar, a similar result, when I just needed a little layer to fill it out, rather than just having a sub. It was originally just the sub. Like, I didn't have that in before. And it was just lacking a little bit of balls, so I had to add some layer to the bass. I don't have the rebound. I have the original rebound project, but already completed it in 3 loops. And I don't have that project. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, unless anybody has any other questions about this, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Check out the Mad Zoo in the Void Minecraft party that we're putting on the 19th. Go check it out at tickets.madzoo.events. And, yeah, hopefully see you there. But if not, I guess I'll see you next time I stream. But yeah, next Saturday. So, actually, yeah, almost over a week from now. Thanks for tuning in. I shall see you soon. Peace.